Good morning, afternoon, everybody. This is Ian, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today, we're going to talk about some models of effective listening in conversation, as well as some elements of assertive communication. To start things off with a little bit of a quote, there is a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. When I was younger, I often just thought of something in my head. Oh, this is a really good idea. I should wait until the other person is finished speaking, and then I should say that idea. But what I soon realized was as I kept this idea locked in my head, I wasn't listening to anything that the other person said. So even the thing that I wanted to say no longer made sense in the conversation. So I think it's very, very important to realize that there is a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. So the first listening model that I want to talk about, I adapted from this woman's book, Celeste Headley, which is called We Need to Talk. And I've adapted her ideas to what I call listening cues. There are two types of listening cues, as Headley explains: external and internal. When we think about external cues, these are cues that we can observe in other people. What do other people do to signal that they are listening? A lot of people talk about things like eye contact or back channeling. Back channeling is whenever people give things like head nods or some kind of verbal or nonverbal confirmation that a person is listening. So saying things like, oh, yeah, uh huh, oh, really? Back channeling. Back channeling, along with eye contact, are often cited as common examples of what indicates good listening. However, Headley argues quite persuasively that if we're too focused on trying to show these cues to other people, what we're not doing is truly focusing on what the other person is saying. All we're doing is giving signals of listening. It doesn't mean that we actually are listening. So, Headley talks about what I call internal cues of listening. What are some things that you can do to yourself? What are some things that you can think about to help cue you in to what another person is saying? First internal cue: what is being said? What is the other person talking about? Who, what, when, where, why? Is this somebody trying to give me information? Is this somebody telling a story? Is this somebody venting? What is the purpose of what they are telling me, and what is the content? Number two, what is the underlying emotion? Is there a disconnect between whether someone is speaking a sad message in a happy tone or a happy message in a sad tone? What is the relationship between the emotions that someone is showing and the message that they are saying? For example, oh, my day is going really well. Man, isn't this just like the worst day ever? I can't even believe how terrible everything is. When these kinds of disconnects arrive, focus on that. That is a good indication of your listening, and it's something that you can ask about moving forward because usually, if there's a disconnect between somebody's emotions and somebody's words, there's something that they're not telling you, something that might be worth exploring. And finally, one of the easiest listening cues I find to focus on and what I find super effective is what questions do I have? As I'm listening to someone tell a story or explain a concept, what understanding do I need in order to really put all the pieces together? What background knowledge do I need? What holes need to be filled? What gaps need to be recognized? So, thinking about what questions you have when somebody is speaking to you can really help you focus on what they're saying and become a much stronger listener.